I think a lot of people growing up had the expectation that, number one, I would preach, and that was something that I did not want to do. I left the church, and I came back when I knew church was over, and I threw him the corporate card and the keys to the church. I'm out of here. And he says to me, I know what you're doing. I see the church growing. I see how you're moving, but it's growing too fast for me. And I said to him, well, what if this is what God wants to happen? His response was, I said it's growing too fast for me.
Daddy Steve, oh my gosh.
It was in that moment where I checked out. And so Dad was trying to sit me on the bench, but I'm the franchise player. And everybody else is seeing that but him until I go away. I act more like my grandfather than I do my dad. But it stops with me.
Yeah.
I ain't having no kids. This is it. It is finished.
You done gave up the ghost.
I've given up the ghost.
Legacy is messy, it's holy, but we're supposed to protect it.
Fast forward to me, continuing in that legacy. I'm social justice guy, fighting the good fight. You can't run the church like it's the streets and the drug operation. My response is, but Dad, my drug friends got a tighter ship than you have at this church. So I'm gonna learn something from them and implement it here.
Yep. It's like sitting here with family. I mean, you know, I've had a connection with all the guests that I've had on, but today is like sitting with family. I got, I don't know, thousands of stories that I could talk about. How did our families first connect? I'll let you say it.
Yeah, I think my grandfather and your dad in the preaching world, and then my dad and your dad preaching for each other together, all of that. And then I remember you came to preach for us. I was in high school.
Yep.
And my dad said, you're gonna go pick Thurston up from the airport.
Yeah.
So I picked you up, took you, that's back when we can come in the airport. So I was waiting for you by the gate, took you to the airport, to the hotel. And you preached for us the next day. You told me about Joe, because you knew I was coming to Morehouse the next year. And you got to meet my brother, y'all to get along, all that type of thing. And then it jumped off from there once I got here to the ATL.
You know, I still remember what you had on when you picked me up. Them diaper pants. You know, like they were like emerald. No, it was a turquoise with a chartreuse shirt. And you walk so fast, I'm all winded. But you know what? You know, as we have this legacy conversation, and as you've even outlined it, that's where it kind of all comes together.
Yeah.
Our families. I mean, you know, from the grandfathers to the fathers, to you and I, and you and my brother. Y'all were roommates.
Yes,
together.
sir.
So how'd the legacy continue as roommates?
Well, we almost became family for real, as Joe was dating my cousin.
Yep.
And we thought they were going to get married.
Yep.
All of that type of thing. And I think my first preaching assignment, once I started preaching, was at Salem. Joe came to New Covenant. Your dad is the one who said to me and Joe, y'all supposed to be preaching.
Yep.
We would go get the car from the Checker Club.
Yep.
And we finally came around and had that conversation. And he said that day, Joe, you going to preach watch night. Steve, you going to preach spring break. I'm going to call your dad today.
Yep.
Dad and I had never had a conversation about me preaching.
Okay.
And so when I called my dad the next day, I talked to Jasper. Yeah. All right. We going to set it for spring break.
That's him.
And it was on from there.
That is so much him. So I wanted you to say it, pardon me, I'm a pop back, but I came to preach in New Covenant that time we were talking about you picking me up.
Yeah.
And it was all based on our family, based on legacy.
Yes.
I remember your dad was so disarming. I was scared to poop. I mean, preaching for Steve Thurston, Daddy Steve. Oh my gosh. I remember I had my little sermon, my little Sunday school message. And before I got up, your dad said, now, we all know his daddy, but he ain't his daddy. Don't go smoting over him. He got his own way of coming to preach. Man, that blessed me so much, because I think that so often as PKs, we can get lost in the shadow of our fathers and not end up establishing and having our own identity. I know I got plenty of stories about that. How is it that you were, okay, so I hate to say it like this, but there's only one way I can say it. how were you tried as the son of one of America's most recognized preachers? How were you tried? How was your own personhood tried?
I think a lot of people growing up had the expectation that, number one, I would preach, and that was something that I did not want to do. I could see myself doing the day-to-day operations of the church, but I don't like talking. And so trying to preach publicly, yeah, that wasn't my thing. And so people were constantly, well, you're going to preach, you're going to pastor, all of that type of thing. And so I tried to create my own lane. And then once preaching was on me, I knew I needed to create Stephen Thurston II outside of the shadow of Dad, because once he died, nobody would want a carbon copy. And so I created my own lane. Dad hoops, I purposely don't. Dad sings, I purposely don't. All the things my dad would do, I did it the opposite way. I never listened to his tapes of preaching because I didn't want to train my mind and my voice to sound like him. So just created my own path. And so you would run into people that would oftentimes try to get me to shift back, or they would set me up in preaching situations to try to see if I could maintain the name.
Give it to me. That member you just had right there. You can sanitize the name if you want, but tell me what happened.
We were here. Me and Joe had been preaching maybe 6 months.
Yep.
We go to like a Good Friday service.
Yep.
Eugene Overstreet is up preaching.
Yep.
He makes us come sit in the pulpit.
Yeah.
And he's closing.
Yes.
And then he wants to do a mic toss.
Yeah.
And me and Joe kind of sensed it coming.
Yep.
And I was like, Joe, I'm going to get up here and cuss his ass out. I'm not doing this.
Yep.
Joe was like, okay, well, I'll just try to grab the mic and I'll just yank it a few times, whatever. So he ended up pulling Joe into it.
Yeah.
And so just being in situations like that, where people going to try to see, is he really Stephen Thurston's son? Can he do what his daddy does?
I remember when Joe told Dad about that.
Oh, yes, sir.
Dad got mad.
Pissed.
He said, did what? He said, he trying to kill my baby. Street. Because that's what they call him.
Yes.
Dad. And he had another colorful name. Well, how'd you do, Joe? How'd you do? He got mad. He's like, how'd you do? He said, Dad, you know. Dad said, that's right. There you go.
I remember that day like it's yesterday.
He still shouldn't have done that to you and Steve. Still. You wait till I talk to him. You wait till I talk to him. Yeah. So they'll have those moments. So for me, I remember times walking through the airport when I would travel with Dad, specifically during the conventions and the congresses. Yeah. National Baptist Convention. And that was when we were Baptist.
Yes, sir.
And people would ask me, can you hoop like your daddy? You moaning yet? No, they would say, is you moaning yet? You know, you got a thoke. That's how black preachers say thoke doc. You know, everybody's a doctor. Ain't nobody got no GED, but then they say thoke. I said, no, and neither do you. No, I don't preach like him, and neither do you. Yeah. Dad was the one that helped me find my voice. Yes. And to me, let me just pause and say, that is a legacy factor. I mean, I see it in your family, and I see how your father didn't push you to preach, but Dad got a tap on the shoulder and said it instead of him. I just see that so much as one of the things that when we do not embrace, when we don't embrace our own identity, I think we rupture a step in the legacy. Agreed. And I go back to what you just said, how you charted your own course. What did it look like?
Modeling you and your dad, actually, major influence in how I saw you was uniquely distinct from your dad. How you thought, how you operated, how you preached, treaching. I think that was your word, teaching, preaching, merging that together. So I saw that model. So as I marched down the journey, I've been an entrepreneur since like 16, 17. So I always had that lens. I was a musician, so I had that lens. I did not like church, but the hustle and entrepreneurship inside of me said, what if you don't like church? There are other people like you that don't like church. So why don't you take those things to help make the church better? Tap into it. And so that was how I sought to model and move and shift and do things in a different way. Dad would go preach. He was on the road like, 45, 50 weeks out of the year, literally. But I recognized when he went to preach for somebody, that's all he did. When I started preaching, I would spend an extra day. Tell me what you do with your staff. Show me how you're running your CDC. Getting into the mindset of the ministry. So again, I could bring that stuff back to New Covenant to help to shift us as I knew my ministry would look different than my dad's. I never wanted to be on the road like that.
Yep.
And so if I'm gonna be at home, let me make home strong.
Yep.
And these are the ways that I need to move and maneuver and think to make this a strong, solid base.
So knowing what I know about you, you said bringing things back to New Covenant, but knowing what I know about you, you're sought after. I mean, and I think that what you wanted, not just to preach, I can see on, any of the your Facebook post or IG post of the different spaces that you're in.
Yeah.
And I mean, just coming back from Theotech, with Justin Lester, you as a speaker, I mean, that just says boatloads about your defiance. That's the word I'm looking for. And I'm talking about in a good way.
Sure, yes.
I'm not throwing a pot shot, though I will.
I got you.
My little brother,
I'm clear.
You throw it right back.
That's right.
+1. But so I've seen you forge your own path. Define legacy.
That's a great question. I think it's the continuation of a thing that looks a different way for each generation. So my great-grandfather, who started New Covenant, 44th Street Baptist Church, did it one way. He was known across the city.
Wait a minute, did the church change names?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll walk through that with you.
All right.
So we were on 44th Street, so the 44th Street Baptist Church. And then my grandfather started preaching, came in and succeeded him, helped him as he got sick. They moved to a new location, which was at 77th and Cottage Grove. And so they changed the name of the church because it ain't on 44th Street anymore. New Covenant Missionary Baptist Church. And so then my dad came along and succeeded my grandfather, worked with him as co-pastor. Grandfather died suddenly. Dad took over. And then 2008, we moved into the new building and he shifted it to the New Covenant Worship Center, something like that. I come in as pastor 2 years ago. I pastored with Dad for 9 years, but I came back now as senior pastor after Dad's retirement, and I shift the name to the Cove. And so each leader has changed the name of the church in some way, shape, form, or fashion to create this legacy. Everybody did it different, had their own approach, own style. I was a year when my grandfather died, year old, but members, they will tell you, I act more like my grandfather than I do my dad. And so we've seen this jump in generation in the legacy. My dad acts more like his grandfather, my great-grandfather.
Wow.
I act more like my grandfather, but it stops with me.
Yeah.
I ain't having no kids. This is it. It is finished. And we'll just sell this thing off to somebody.
You done gave up the ghost.
I've given up the ghost.
So go back to, thank you for chronicling that, but go back to your definition of legacy.
Yeah.
You kind of took me down the road of the transition of the church. I get that part, but go back to your definition of legacy. Yeah,
it's the continuation of a thing that looks different in different iterations, different generations. And so New Covenant has always been a strong social justice space. Chicago only had 3 or 4 churches that allowed Dr. King to preach there in their pulpit. New Covenant was one of those places. When the King family moved to Chicago, Dr. King, Miss King lived on the west side, but the kids stayed on the south side at my grandparents' place. So my dad and his siblings gave up their beds and bedrooms so that the King kids could be comfortable. So my grandfather's out. If you go to the museum before Trump eliminates everything, my grandfather's picture is in there walking Dr. King's casket to its final resting place. And so fast forward to me, continuing in that legacy, I'm social justice guy, fighting the good fight. I've assumed roles at Rainbow Push. I was formerly National Youth Director. I just started a new role yesterday as the Chief Impact Officer, becoming the face of that organization. So we're doing the same work, but in different ways. When HIV hit in the 80s, churches would shut down people who had died of AIDS. Dad said, no, y'all come here to New Covenant. You can be buried here, have everything here. Fast forward to me, I'm doing a lot of work in the space of LGBTQ plus rights, affirmation, treating people like human beings, things of that nature. And so it's just a continuation and a carry on,
That's good.
but in a different way.
That's good.
And so that's how we've built legacy. Dad's theme song was Great Things. He has done great things.
Oh,
Every Chicago pastor has a superhero song.
yep.
And so Dad's was Great Things. When he retired, I wanted to keep that part of his legacy going.
Mhm.
And so I ain't singing. We ain't singing that song before I preach. But every month we have a Great Things project
I
where
love
we
it,
do
Steve.
something good for people in the
I love
community or congregation,
I love it.
giving money, resources. And so that's how we continue that legacy of Dad,
Yep.
of being a giver. So we keep doing great things.
Yep. Man, you're bringing a lot of important principles and diversity and colors to the hue of legacy.
Yeah.
And I said earlier that you were defiant, and I feel like there's some defiance in me.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been different.
Yep.
I've always gone against the grain. I would say, remember Sesame Street? One of these kids
Yes.
is doing. I was the one that was doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And as I've watched you, I would say that you're the one also that's done his own thing. And I think that legacy gets stunted when the kid is forced to conform to the kids. And I think that is a part of us that we miss. I think that is a part of us. And I'm talking about people who have a legacy.
Yes, sir.
Of course, I'm talking to a preacher, another PK,
Yeah.
another child of a preacher that was known and is known. But I think the principles that are here are so very important
Yes.
that can be distilled and that can be extracted. So what I was going to say is that as you have been defiant about your call, it's really created another tributary. Isn't a strong enough word.
Mhm.
It's another stream,
Yes.
from the Thurston lineage.
Yes.
That it's a tributary is too small because what you're doing is too big to be a tributary. It's it's a river. It's whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for that. All right. So I say in one of the assets that we have, it says that legacy can be messy, but it's holy
Yeah.
and it is to be protected.
Yes.
How have you experienced that?
The messy was probably when I left 2011. So the church called me.
Why'd you leave?
So where Dad's in the capital campaign, raising capital to build the new facility. I'm here in Atlanta, finishing up at Morehouse, preaching, and I'm shifting to Mercer University to get my MDiv. At that point, Dad is on the road at least 40 weeks out of the year. Most Sundays he's in the pulpit, but some Sundays he's out. And so I called him and said, we need to have a meeting. There needs to be more of a pastoral presence there at New Covenant, because at the time he was third vice president of National Baptist Convention of America Incorporated. He's deciding now to run for the presidency. He ain't gonna do what the old guys are saying, wait your turn. He's like, nah, I'm running. So he runs, and we set up a system where I come home every other weekend to help out, preach. I have second and fourth Sundays. He have first and third. We rotate out on the
This
fifth
is
Sundays.
2011?
No, this is earlier than that. I went into finished Morehouse in 2001. So this is like 2003.
Okay, got it.
And so I'm going back to help out. I do that for about 3 months. I see it's not going to work. We got different management styles. He let people disrespect me. I'm going to cuss you out if you disrespect me. I'm going to put my gun on you. You get too out of order. You can't run the church like it's the streets and the drug operation. And my response is, but Dad, my drug friends got a tighter ship than you have at this church.
Yep.
So I'm going to learn something from them and implement it here.
Yep.
We kept clashing. And so I said, well, forget it.
What was your response to him when he said that?
I laughed at him.
Yep.
Because I'm like, look, my people are doing well. It's illegal,
Yep.
but they're doing well.
Yes.
And they have principles, business principles that really need to be implemented in the church to make it run tighter.
Did that tick him off, the fact that you laughed?
No, at least he didn't let me know.
Dr. Thurston seems to be just unmoved
Yes.
by anything.
Yes.
But I always wonder.
Yeah,
I've
what's
always
in his
wondered.
head?
Yep.
I could
Okay.
never get in there and see.
Yep.
And so the minister of music, she pissed me off for the final time. So I quit. It was church anniversary. I left the church. We had an evening service, Rock of Ages. Marvin Wiley was preaching
Yep.
live on the radio back then. I left. And I came back when I knew church was over, and I threw him the corporate card and the keys to the church. Said, I'm going back to Atlanta. I ain't helping you. You want her to tell me what to do? Let her be your co-pastor. I'm out of here. Come back to Atlanta. I was with Dewey. He had just got House of Hope, Great Travelers Rest. So I'm worshiping there with him. I didn't talk to my dad for like 4 months. I get a text message one day sitting in church. Congratulations. More started flowing in. So I called my best friend at the time and said, man, what are these texts about? He said, well, we had a vote yesterday and the church voted you in as pastor.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Slow the train down. So you throw the keys and the card back.
Yep.
You come to Atlanta.
I come back to Atlanta full time because I'm flying back and forth. I'm still in seminary.
You're on staff working for Great Travelers Rest?
I wasn't on staff. I'm just a member.
I got you.
Yep.
All right. And how long had you been here after you threw the keys back?
So it'd been 4 months since I threw the keys back before I started getting these text messages on Sunday morning.
All right.
Yep.
And so they voted you.
They voted me in as pastor. My dad held a vote. So I called my mother first and she's like, you don't know what happened? I said, no, I ain't talked to daddy in 4 months. She said, well, he set up a vote. And the church voted, and they voted you in as pastor. I said, well, what was the percentage? She said 97%. She said, you haven't talked to your father? I said, no, ma'am. And so we were having 3 services at the time. I waited until in between the second and third service, and I called home, called my dad. He answered the phone. All right. And I said, what did you do? And he starts laughing. I said, sir, you just made a decision about my life without my input. This ain't funny. Well, I said, well, I'm gonna get back to you and I'm gonna let you know how I want to proceed with this. So I'm in the office with Dewey. I tell Dewey what's going on, what's happening. And he says, all right, Doc, I'm gonna help you strategize and figure this out. And so my dad's thing was money. And so he said, hit him in the pocket. What kind of car you got? I said, well, this is what I got. Tell him you want whatever else you want. Where do you stay when you go back home? Well, I stay, in my dad's house. Tell him you want a house. Make him buy your house. So he this how much you want to make. Lay it all out. So when I call my dad back, I give him this list thinking he's going to say no to all of this. All right, well, whatever you want, just go get it. And so because
I think that says more about him than it does you. What a gangster thing to do.
It was very gangster.
Nothing to pray about. Nothing to meet about.
No spirit involved.
Dr. Thurston. Yes. Well, all right. That's it again.
All right. Get whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I got whatever I wanted. And because it was a vote of 97%, I felt I had an obligation out to these people.
Yeah.
And so again, we set that rotation back up. I'm flying in second and fourth. I did that for like 2.5 years. Mercer allowed me to take my last 2 classes in Chicago. So finished up school in Chicago and then just transitioned in. The church had never had a vote before. The succession was when somebody died, the next one became the pastor. And so I was not the youth pastor, none of that. I was the pastor. If I spent over $10,000, I had to let my dad know. That was the only rule he had, but vision and all of that stuff. And so we working this thing, doing this for like 9 years. And it got to the point where dad kind of thought that I was competing with him on some stuff. That was never my goal, objective. I was just trying to draw in the younger crowd. He could draw in the older crowd. I thought it was a great mix. Nobody in Chicago had that kind of setup. We were unique in that way. And it got to the point where I had to make a decision. Do I want a business partner or do I want a dad? We're building this building. These are millions of dollars involved. He's making decisions just based on his life. And I had some experiences that dad didn't have. I was more of a business guy. And so you messing up money, man. And so I could compartmentalize. When we in this office, you're my business partner. He saw it, well, you're my son. And the son ain't supposed to jump in dad's face or cuss him out or, go toe to toe. And I'm like, no, we're business partners. And he couldn't separate that all the time. So I said, hey, I'll make a decision. I got enough money stashed. I'm going to retire. So in 2011, I made the decision to retire. Had a meeting with him. He said, ain't no trouble, is it? I said, no. He said, you're not about to go crazy and be in a monastery in a room locked away. You all right? I said, yeah, Dad, I'm good. I'm going to just move back to Atlanta. You still got gas in the tank. You can run this thing. Pastor Clay Evans at the time had told him, hey, fall back. Let Stevie be the front person. You run the convention. Let him run the church. He didn't want to do that. So no problem. Go ahead. This is your church. Handle it. I'm out of here.
So let me ask you, because there's another chapter to this.
Yeah.
Several other chapters. And I want you to be as transparent as you can be.
Yeah.
Let me incentivize you with the purpose of helping the next generation.
Yes, sir.
Not just to talk.
Yes.
How did it get messy? Because let me tell you what I've heard. I've heard an exchange of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Dr. Thurston to Stevie. You know, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But where was the mess? What is it? So
Yep.
legacy is messy. It's holy, but we're supposed to protect it.
Yeah.
We can see what's forward facing.
Sure.
What we can see what we want people to see.
Yeah.
Kind of control that narrative.
Yeah.
But can you take me behind
Sure.
the doors?
Yeah.
And, you know, were y'all throwing spitballs at each other or, you know?
No, it didn't get to that point. There was no ever a fight or, putting hands on each other. It was, I got an ego and you got an ego. And I remember one conversation, which was the turning point for me. The church was growing. Young people were coming. I remember one Sunday I had 100 people join church, most of them young people. New Covenant had never had that level of engagement in terms of people joining at one time in one service. And so there was some other stuff going on with finances and I'm seeing people stealing and I got that street in me. And like, no, I want to chop their hand off. And that, well, he can't run it like it's a drug business. Like that, they're stealing your money and church money. I'm about to end them. This is about to be over. And so we had a big meeting about that. And he said, the chairman of the deacon board was in there and the CFO. And we talked, he put them out and he said, I see what you're doing. I understand what you're doing. But
Wait, does anybody know what you're telling me now? Is this, what do they call it? This breaking news.
Yeah.
Is this breaking news? I mean, does anybody know this?
A couple of people.
Okay. All right.
Family, but
All right.
Yeah. And so he puts them out and he says to me, I know what you're doing. I see the church growing. I see how you're moving, but it's growing too fast for me. And I said to him, well, what if this is what God wants to happen? His response was, I said it's growing too fast for me. It was in that moment where I checked out. Now, this was a couple of years before I made my exit, but in that moment I checked out. And so I started falling back in terms of casting vision, things of that nature. In my position, what I said to him was, you set this up, you called the vote. And when you called the vote and these people voted me in as pastor, that invited me into the space to have vision for this place. You're no longer the only person that has vision. God's given both of us vision. So if you can't handle that, then let me get out the way so you can have your church and do your thing with your church and have it grow at the pace you want it to grow at. So that's where the messiness got involved. He figured, he was in his 50s. I'm too young. You just want me out of here. No, I'm trying to help you live longer. Yeah. I'm trying to do all the work. You're not an administrative guy. Let me do all the stuff you can't do because you can do stuff I can't do. And let's merge in. And he was used to being the alpha dog. Everybody admired him. Oh, you're the great Dr. Thurston. I don't give a damn. Yeah. You're daddy to me. Yeah. I see you walking around the house in your underwear, man. Mm-hmm. All that don't impress me. Yeah. I know your weaknesses and I'm just trying to plug in your weaknesses. And you're not used to having a partner. You're not used to listening to anybody else. You're just doing what you want to do.
But Steve, why couldn't you, because that's what I hear. Yeah. Legacy is messy, it's holy, and it needs to be protected.
Yep.
Why couldn't you protect him even in that? What was that? Was that arrogance? Was that pride? I know you the street. I get all that.
Yeah.
Your granddaddy, all those kinds of things. But why could that not have been protected? Or in your mind, do you think that it was?
That was my attempt to protect because I could see where the church was going around the corner. So at the same time,
But why wouldn't protect more?
Say again.
Why would you not keep on protecting?
Because it was going to get ugly.
Why would it have gotten ugly?
Because male egos are about to clash.
Yes.
And I'm only going to go so far because I'm still respect you, but I'm only going to go so far. I have no gray area. So I'm either quiet
Yes.
or I'm going to 1,000.
Yes.
And I was moving out of the quiet stage.
So
and
what would have happened if egos had clashed?
He offered to buy me a building.
Okay.
In the suburbs.
Yes.
And the banker called him, Pastor, we got a building.
Yep.
We'll give it to you. He
Yep.
said, well, Stevie, I'll get this building, give you the money. You start your own thing.
Yep.
At the time, like, you don't want to do that. You don't know what you're playing with.
Yep.
Because I know all the new stuff and it's going to turn into a competition.
Could you have done that? Taken that building and still been in ministry with him?
No.
Why?
Ego would have gotten away. And I would have been on a mission. I'm going to prove to you that you the great Stephen Thurston, but I can do some stuff too. I'm going to do it different, but I'm going to blow this thing up.
Yep.
And I would have gone in that direction. And there would have been, I don't care that we got the same last name or DNA. You're now my competition.
You know what I see? You had the funding because of your entrepreneurial spirit. You had the funding to have done that. I didn't. I've always known I have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I've tried a bunch. But you at that point had money behind you.
Yeah.
I've never said this in public, but as me and Dad evolved and went through me knowing people always getting mixed up, I did not leave because anything was wrong.
Yes.
None of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
It was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I left because God said my assignment was up. And I still to this day don't know why people don't believe that. But we'll let them stay up at night with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we're moving through different configurations, first, I felt I was the only one giving the configurations.
Okay.
Much likely because our fathers are from the same generation.
Yes.
It's their way or no way.
Yes.
All right. So let me tell you what happened. As I thought and prayed, and because I didn't want to leave Dad. I mean, I had to learn how to let Alicia be my best friend.
Gotcha.
And because me and Dad were just like that.
Yeah.
And that's not good that I had to learn that, but I did. So Salem has always been my heart. I've always wanted nothing than better or best for Dad, Joe, and Salem. And so I start thinking, that's when the Charles Stanley thing happened.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be accused of splitting a church.
Yeah.
So I said, I see a couple ways this can happen that may make it palatable since my assignment was up. I said, Dad, what if we start a night service, 6 o'clock? There's a market for that. Nobody does evening services.
Yeah.
I said, a second way that we could do it is I do a Salem North. Because Dad, remember, you wanted to have
That's right.
church, Salem's flag flying in all four corners. We had the south side then, east, west, south. I'd have been north. I said, everything that comes in will go straight back into the, into the budget of the church.
Yep.
In case, whatever. I didn't know if people would or wouldn't. And then the third option was I'll leave and I'll start a church. He said, well, I don't like none of them three options. Trying to help. Trying to,
Yeah.
partner. I don't like none of them. Conversation was over. He gets up and goes back in his office. And that was that. So I'm left here trying to figure things out. And I'm hearing you, even as you're charting your own course of legacy. I tried to protect my father.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to protect him. I really don't even think I had the wherewithal to protect myself in that.
Gotcha.
And to protect my wife. And then we only had Jordan. But we did have Quad. Quad was one, but he hadn't been born yet right before, all this stuff was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that hurts. That hurts that I'd be willing to protect a face of legacy and not the totality of legacy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you this. I feel like I was too wrapped up in that to see that.
Gotcha.
Have you felt that way?
Nope. I was cool with the legacy ending. Even when I came back to take the church, that was the first thing that I said to the church when Dad decided to retire. Let's shut this thing down, sell off the assets, make sure Dad is good. I live in Morocco part-time. I'll make that full-time and we can be good. So even when I left, a lot of pastors were asking, of course, they were making up their own narratives. I never engaged in those conversations. But they were asking, well, what happens to the legacy? And I would often say to them, Saul had a son, but David became the king. And I'm cool with somebody else becoming the king of New Covenant. It may do better. They could probably do something I couldn't do. So I respected the legacy, but I wasn't tied to it like that. In my mind, I'm gonna create my own thing. I can build something that'll outlive me, that's disconnected from New Covenant.
I see two other chapters. You've given us chapter 1. I see two other chapters. That time when you were distanced from your father, from New Covenant at your own decision that you made. And then I see, actually 3 more chapters. I see the time that you spent at Salem. And then I see where you are now.
Yeah.
Can you take that thread of legacy and blend it with the timeline from where the story just left off?
Yep. So leave, come back to Atlanta, helping Greater Travelers Rest. I created something called Faith Under 40 while I was at New Covenant Ministry for those 19 to 40.
You had me at that. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we did the piece, Leave
the kingdom to follow the king.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. And that was when you made your transition to help people understand transition decisions, all of that. And that was the preview, I guess, for the members that I would soon be leaving maybe a year and a half or so later. And so I brought that to Greater Travelers Rest, helped do out with that. I was just supposed to teach Bible study twice a month. That kind of shifted to almost like an executive pastor type role. I was overseeing 70% of the ministries, doing Bible study, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. And so just brought all of that pastoral experience to Greater Travelers Rest. He had other preachers, ministers that had been through there, but nobody had been a senior pastor before. And that gave a different look, how things are run, operations, engagement with congregations, and kind of being the hands and feet of him when he was not there. As his star was rising, he was doing other stuff. So did that for 3 years. Next 2 years, stayed in Atlanta, would preach here and there, but I was doing more consulting for churches, leadership development, project management, because I'd achieved my PMP, Professional Project Management certification, while I was there at Travelers Rest. So helping churches to kind of revamp how they did ministry church. I'm going to Highland Cigar Lounge one day, smoking, my phone rings, and it's Pastor Meeks, Salem Baptist Church, Chicago, House of Hope. And he'd been my mentor in the social justice space, preaching space. He'd run for state senate. And so while he was out, he would often bring me in to run or preach for him while he was downstate. So we had that relationship. He mentored me, guided me through a lot of stuff, even the stuff with my dad and my decision to leave. And so he asked me how things were going, what I'd been doing for Dewey. His last young guy had left. And so I jokingly said, well, send me a job description and an application, when you get a chance. Laughed it off. He calls me 3 weeks later, Stevie, when you moving to Chicago? And Pastor, it's 30 degrees in Chicago. It's 80 here in Atlanta. I ain't coming back. And so he had me come preach for him. Conversation evolved about me coming in to serve as his executive pastor to help him. He's thinking about retirement, but not sure yet because he'd been taught you got to die in the pulpit. So I'll make the move, go back home, help him out, serve as his executive pastor for 5 years, help to revamp Salem and put him in position to retire. And so he makes that decision. And again, all the lessons I learned pastoring New Covenant, all the lessons I learned at Greater Travelers Rest. When I get to Salem, I've seen all this before. I know that kind of Negro. So I know how to assuage that issue that's popping up. And again, Pastor Meeks had not had a former pastor on his team. So that gave me something. Then I'm back in Chicago. So I bring the Thurston name and legacy to the work that I'm doing there in Chicago. Social justice work, yada, 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 resources I'm able to help Salem develop and build out. And then Pastor Meeks makes the decision. I'm retiring. Cool. And so we have a conversation. We already knew Charlie Dates was going to be his successor. A lot of people that thought I would succeed him. Nope. Charlie was always the guy. And so we said, well, let's lead together, make it like a presidential transition of power. Cool. My mind, I'm going to Morocco full time.
Again. That was your Joppa.
Yeah.
Nineveh's one of them.
Yes. I'm done with church. I can finally get out the game.
Yeah.
And my mom calls me and says, hey, your dad needs to retire. He's done his time. He ain't growing the church like he used to. Ain't no young people here. Ain't no babies crying. I think he's out of gas. Would you consider coming back? Now, Dad had always known I was not coming back. That was never on my radar. Salem was 10 minutes away from New Covenant. So I would leave the office every day, go hang out with him, sit with him. If he needed me to preach, I'd come preach for him, whatever. And so I started noticing he's having me come about once a month. So I can tell he's tired. If COVID had not hit, I think COVID impacted Dad and kind of messed with his retirement plan. Now, we had developed a retirement plan for my dad and a successor, which should have been Reggie Sharp. Reggie Sharp should be the pastor of New Covenant Missionary Baptist Church. So a lot of people don't know that. This is breaking news as well. I had Reggie come preach for Dad, preach church anniversary. We all went out to eat. I'm at Salem. We all go out to eat afterwards. And my mother walks over to me in the restaurant and she said, yep, he's the guy. Mm-hmm. Have the conversation. So for my mother to say that, it was real. So I pulled my dad to the side. Mommy just told me Reggie's the guy. Well, yeah, the members kept saying that he reminded them of me when I was his age. So let's do it. So I tapped Reggie at dinner. We need to talk tonight. So we go out, hang out that night, have dinner. He said, Steve, you want to talk to me about something? I said, yeah, man. My parents are interested in you becoming the next pastor of New Covenant because they know I'm not interested. And he dropped his head and he said, man, I wish this conversation had happened at least a month earlier. Jenkins and I have been having conversations. Wow. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
We just inked the deal.
Yes.
If I had known,
yeah, we
could have had some different types of conversations.
Yeah.
And so Dad missed the mark by a month of Reggie being the pastor of New Covenant. And so that's no longer on the table. Fast forward, we have a conversation leading up to 4th of July. So we would gather together, have family dinners on Sunday, go out to a restaurant.
Hold on. So now what I'm hearing is that you and your family, you and your dad are good. Mom, y'all are kind of gelling again. He's accepted you for where you are. You've accepted him. Okay.
So let me drop something in there to talk about this legacy thing. And let me talk to the senior pastors that have sons or daughters.
Yep.
Here's what happened. Dad did not really see me as a peer in the preaching and pastoral space until he saw me winning somewhere else. Now, the same stuff I was doing at New Covenant, other people like, man, I wish you were my son. I wish you bring that here. They saying this stuff to my dad, but it ain't registered.
Yep.
He sees me come to Travelers Rest and see what I do there.
Yep.
He sees me at Salem helping to revive Salem.
Your herald.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I guess he does really bring something to the table. Mm-hmm. And so pastors, dads, whoever, stop mistreating the gift that you've sown into. You done paid all that money for them to go to school, get the training, get the education, all of that, and then you're going to sit on it? Don't do that. Put them in. Stop sitting them on the bench. You got a franchise player right there. And so Dad was trying to sit me on the bench, but I'm the franchise player. And everybody else is seeing that but him until I go away. And so when I come back, he now sees me. I could tell the difference in even how he introduces me, what he says about me. Never saying anything bad before, but he's just celebrating me and in another type of way. And so we go to have that conversation. Yep. Dad is thinking we're about to talk about the menu for 4th of July.
Okay.
And my mother says, no, sit down.
So let's come back up to timeline wise.
Yeah.
So if you had the conversation a month early, if Dad had the conversation a month early, it looked different with Reg.
Yep.
All right, that doesn't go through.
Yep.
Now start me there, please.
Yeah, so there's another like 6, 7, no, about a year.
Okay.
I'm still at Salem. I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
There's an opportunity that comes my way for a church in Arizona. Pastor dies. And they call me at Salem, ask me if I'll come out.
New Salem.
I'm at Salem.
Okay, all right.
Salem Baptist Church, Chicago.
Okay, all right. I'm thinking Dr. Ray. Okay.
I'm sorry, no.
All right.
Salem, Chicago.
Okay.
I get a voicemail about coming to preach for a church in Arizona. So I call him back, ask the guy, when you want me to come? He stutters. And then he says, Easter. We know the business. So you don't just invite somebody who ain't never been there before for an Easter service. Like, oh, this is an interview. So I Google the church while I'm on the phone with him and I see what church it is. I'm like, oh, this is a large church. I call Dad. You familiar with this church? I tell the guy, I'll call you back. Call Dad. Oh, yeah, I preached there before. Dad, they want me to come. I'm not going to come because I'm here helping Meeks out. Well, I think you ought to go. So I said, well, let me talk to Meeks about it. We have that conversation. Meeks says, I'm on my way to the office. When I get there, we're going to talk in detail. Meeks walks into my office, puts his feet up on my desk and says, Stevie, tell me why you don't want to go to this church. Well, Pastor, I'm here to serve you, help you. I've only been here a year and a half, 2 years, all of that type of thing. I'm here to make sure you're straight. I'm not trying to run out on you. He said, well, I knew somebody was going to try to grab you once you got here. So this is what I want you to do. You're going to go preach, because what's not going to happen is you close a door that you didn't open.
Jeez, that's good advice. Such wisdom.
Go preach. You're going to have a conversation with the deacons. If you get stuck, you call me and your dad, and we're going to walk you through this thing. I go, I preach. It is a great day. All 3 services in both locations. They laid it out for me. My suite overlooking the whole city. Nice check. It was set up for me. We go to breakfast the next morning. We having conversations. Some other pastors in the area that are familiar with the process. They on the phone making phone calls. Steve is your guy. If you want this church to move forward, he's the guy. I never filled out the application. I called Meeks that night. He said, Stevie, that's your church. I'll watch the services. That's your church. I never filled out the application because I felt like I would have been abandoning Pastor Meeks. He'd been too good for me to do that. And so that opportunity is now off the table. I'm hanging out with Dad every day. Dad never says nothing about, a conversation about, well, I'm tired. You think you might want to change your mind about coming back? Never says a word. So a year later, we get to this 4th of July conversation. Mom has the conversation and says, we're about to talk about business. Reads him his rights.
All right, Mama.
You ain't doing it like you used to do it. All of this stuff. You always said, if a church ain't got no babies crying, it's a dead church. And we ain't had babies crying in a while. What's your plan? My dad says, I don't have a plan. So then my sister jump in. And I can read my dad's face. He's part pissed and part embarrassed. And so they all go around saying, well, Stevie's been coming in to preach here and there. His thing is over at Salem. Why don't you bring him back in? He can do this, you can do that. All of this stuff. Everybody's talking but me. My mother leans forward and says, anybody else want to say anything? And so I'm reading my dad's body language. And so, again, he's pissed and he's embarrassed. I start stroking his ego, running down all of his accomplishments. Dad, you've been at the top of the game for 50 years. President convention, $15 million facility, blah, 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 blah. Ain't nobody done it the way you've done it. So you ain't got nothing else to prove. If you want to walk away, now's the time. He says, all right, I got a question. So everybody sits up in their seat. Like, what's he about to say? He leans forward and says, will you come back? Now, I'm partly pissed in that moment. Man, we've been traveling, been to Morocco, hanging out.
Now
you ain't said nothing.
Yeah.
Ain't hinted at nothing.
Yeah.
And now you're going to ask me in this moment.
Right. Steve, I was like, he's doing good. He's doing good. He's doing good. Then you put the punctuation in there.
I'm about to move to Morocco, man. I got my bags packed. And so I said, well, I got conditions. I went down my conditions.
Yeah, give him another sheet of paper.
Gave him another sheet.
You can have all that.
And he said, all right, whatever you want. And so we then decided when the announcement was going to be made. We set it for the first Sunday in August. This is July. I set it for the first Sunday in August. I said, Dad, you better record. Let's record it so that, people are going to be blowing up your phone. We do all of that, makes the announcement. I start the second Sunday in August and he does nothing. He was done. He's not asked for the mic since first Sunday in August, 2023. Asked for the mic twice. Both of those times would have raised me money because I'm not taking a salary so that I can make sure the church is doing what it needs to do to take care of him.
That's big.
I didn't want lifestyle, anything to shift for him unnecessarily. And so I'm making a lot of sacrifice to make sure Dad, Mom are taken care of, that they're good. And so because of that, he got up and raised money for my birthday and for Christmas for me.
That's beautiful, man. And I knew that part privately, but to me, that is one of the ways that you've protected the legacy.
Yeah.
By honoring your mother and your father the way that you just described, and I'm sure in more ways, but to make sure that they were all right and are all right at your own sacrifice.
Yeah.
I think this is really important to know, and I don't see it as much now as I did then. No, I see it more now than I did then. And that is, pastors can't just rely on an income that the church is giving them.
Yeah.
And I really believe when you look at the grand scheme of things, that a lot of pastors can't even rely on, I'm gonna call it road money.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever conference, whatever their thing is.
Yeah.
And I think that many of us are having to look at, okay, so what else has God put there?
Exactly.
And I'm seeing that in you, that your entrepreneurial experience has really given you a sense of confidence to not strike your own check, but to make your own next move.
Exactly.
And to make a move that you don't have to make, but to make a move that you want to make
yes.
without sacrificing what was able to get you to the point that you didn't have to make
exactly
a move. So I don't know. I just want to underline that.
Yes, sir.
And put that back there. So your dad says, will you come back?
Yep. I come back. I treat New Covenant like it's a client. And so anything I would do with any other church to revitalize them, revamp them, we did it. Did a listening tour. And again, in that listening tour, I walked the congregation. I broke them up in age categories. We did a mimosa brunch because the folk love to drink. I mean, get some lick in you. And we're going to talk business.
Oh, Steve. Oh, Steve. Oh, Steve.
The shepherd knows his sheep, Jay.
Listen, I thought you didn't drink and you don't eat pork. So,
I don't. I let them.
Still notice. Oh, God, this is getting worse.
I'm pure and holy.
All right. Hassan, Hakwad, whatever's on your shirt.
All praises.
Oh, no! Just move on, Steve. Just move on.
So in that conversation, I walked him through the life cycle of an organization, of a church, the sigmoid curve, and stressed to them that if New Covenant continues to do what it's doing in the next 5 to 7 years with the rate of change in culture, New Covenant would have to shut its doors. So let's do this. We're 89 years old. Let's finish off year 90, sell off the assets, close the building down, make sure dad is taken care of, and I'm out of here. And they kept saying, no, we want the legacy to live on. And so here's what a lot of pastors miss. They try to get agreement before they get alignment.
Ooh.
And that's why they have so many clashes in the church. I got alignment first, then I got agreement. So a lot of people ask me, how's the transition been? Any fights, any turbulence? None, because I got alignment first. And when I got 70 and 80-year-olds coming to me telling me, Pastor, change everything because we want the church to live.
Did you have alignment the last time when you were younger, when you were pastoring there with them? Or was this one of those lifelong lessons that getting your butt kicked?
This was a lifelong lesson, but I'll add the caveat. New Covenant has always been a pastor-led church.
Okay.
So ain't nobody ever tried to fight back.
Okay. So why'd you need alignment?
Because we got a new Negro going to church today. My target audience is the unchurched and the dechurched. And so they come with a different perspective.
But a 70, 80-year-old?
So some of them are not original members of the church. They've come from other places, other experiences. They may have been used to some other stuff. And my dad is still alive. And I know that when he closes his eyes, there may be somebody that tries to grow a pair and try to rise up. So I'm going to kill that before we even get there.
That is so smart that you're not doing what you could do.
Yeah.
And that you're positioning and really, I see it as going after people's hearts, not from a strategic position, though it may be strategy. I would say from a wisdom position.
Yeah.
Because if you get people to love you, Dad would always say when pastors would ask him, well, Dr. Williams, I want to do such and such and such and such and such and such. Dad would say, no, you don't change nothing until you at least been there a year. He said, you need to preach your way into those people's hearts. He said, now after you've been there a year, you might have to wait another year.
Mm-hmm.
And so to hear you use such wisdom in all the different places that you've been, to be able to be functionally walking it out, that's awesome.
Yeah. I even had the people vote me in. They pushed back. They didn't want to vote. Your last name is Thurston. You've been pastor before, and we ain't never voted a pastor in. So again, I'm prepping them for who's to come after me. And also, I want y'all a part of this process. We boot up. We go together.
Yeah.
And this is not a dictatorship. I want you all to have some voice in what's happening. Now, at the end of the day, they allow me to make whatever decision I want to make. Mm-hmm. But I always want them to feel that their voice can be lifted because they may see some blind spots that I'm unaware of. And so we've been able to function in a very good space. They went ahead and voted. I got 96% of the vote during the vote. And again, every initiative, every project, everything I've gone after, I've had full support. We didn't have a great falling away. Maybe about 5 folk left the church. All right, that's fine.
What will your father's legacy be?
Preaching, creating an open and a safe space for people to worship and to love God, and being kind to people, no matter who they are, where they were in life. You know, he gonna put some money in your hand. He come preach down here, go preach at ITC. All the young preachers, he coming out with that stack, $100 bills. So just being a nice guy, kind guy, a guy who didn't let his celebrity or his status control him.
Did your father ever have to apologize to you for anything?
His way would be to write a check. I've never heard him say, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So would the matter of offense be commensurate to the apology?
I would say so. Yeah.
Have you ever had to apologize to him?
I don't think I ever have.
Do you think that there should have been any kind of apology?
Maybe so when I cussed him out a couple of times.
Well, why wouldn't you do it?
We just kept moving. He never...
Is that healthy?
It's probably not the healthiest thing.
So
he never stayed. He never got stuck on stuff. Kept moving.
Don't mean that it's not a part of his being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Steve, I can't tell you what to do. Nobody can tell you what to do.
Your dad can.
Okay, one. All right.
Steve.
All right, one. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not getting in y'all's business. This is just me.
Yes, sir.
These are my convictions.
Yeah.
That Dad sat right there where you're sitting in our first, before I even knew it was going to be called Legacy Conversations, the idea hadn't even been birthed.
Yeah.
It was Katie to say, I think it'd just be good for you and your dad to sit down. We did it. It was amazing. The Lord starts whispering in my heart. Now we have Steve here with us, Steve Thurston here. Dad sat right there and he said, if there's anything I need to apologize to you for, I will. And that broke my heart.
Yes, sir.
I remember I was wiping my face. I said, Dad, you can't say stuff like that to me and not get a response.
Yeah.
I was going to say, period. Selah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got it.
I'm not JW. What will your legacy be?
Helping people to change what's within so that they can change what's around. Helping them to understand that they cannot change other people, but they can influence them. And you influence them best by becoming a better version of yourself. Seeing everybody as neighbor, eliminating the walls and the biases and the prejudice that keep us disconnected. Somebody who saw needs and found ways to fill those needs, regardless of who people were. And somebody who was going to speak truth to power, who didn't give a damn what people thought, who was going to do what was right to make people's lives better.
I love it. I like to have my guests speak to the next generation, to the current generation.
Yeah.
The time and space where recently the Joel Tutman, Henry Fernandez thing has happened.
Yeah.
I'd like for you to speak to the audience and whom is on the other side that will see this.
Yeah.
And with that coloring, What would you say to those two generations that are sitting there
Yes.
watching this play out? Some automatically agreeing and moving and supporting one side, others the other side.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Have clear conversation. Have a contract, even if it's with your daddy or your mama. Have everything spelled out, everything clear, timelines clear, money clear, so that everybody has input in that conversation. Have other people around that conversation that can hold both parties accountable to what's been agreed upon. Have a clear exit plan. Have a clear legacy plan in place as to what the successor is going to do for the predecessor, what the predecessor's role is going to be, how often they're going to be at church, if they're going to be a part of the CDC still and not the church. All of those dynamics need to be worked out, need to be understood. And then the younger generation continuing to make room for the older generation. My dad is not in position now because he's developed aphasia. But if he didn't have that, I would bring my dad back on staff as pastoral care pastor. So these guys got wisdom, they got years, they got know-how that we'll never have for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Put them in play in some other realm of ministry where they can still feel useful. Their gifts can still be added to the kingdom, to build the kingdom. You stay in your lane, let them work their lane, but find a way to merge those lanes together, again, for the betterment of the kingdom.
Steve, thank you for joining me in Legacy Conversations.
Yes, sir.
Because you've spoken to this space, other conversations will be made richer. Thanks, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too, sir.